Good evening, everyone. Tonight, I'm going to take you on a journey into the past, into one of the darkest, most terrifying missions of my career. This isn't just any story. This is a tale of horror, of unimaginable fear that gripped me so tight I still wake up at night drenched in cold sweat, remembering every chilling detail. But before we dive in, if you're enjoying these eerie stories, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Your support keeps these tales alive, and trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next. Now sit back, relax, and prepare yourself for a story that will make you question what really lurks in the shadows. It was the summer of '79, and I was stationed deep in the heart of the Middle East. My unit was tasked with a highly classified mission, one that, on paper, seemed straightforward. Our orders were simple: infiltrate enemy lines, gather intelligence, and exfiltrate before anyone knew we were there. But from the very beginning, something felt off. As we sat in that dimly lit briefing room, I could see it in the eyes of my fellow soldiers. They felt it too. The air was thick with an unspoken dread, like a storm was brewing just out of sight. Our commanding officer, a no-nonsense man who had seen more battles than any of us, seemed unusually tense. His hands trembled slightly as he pointed to the map, outlining our route. I remember looking around the room, catching the eyes of my comrades and seeing the same unease reflected back at me. We were all seasoned veterans, but this mission had an aura about it that none of us could shake. And then he said it. There have been reports, strange ones. Patrols have gone missing, and those that returned, well, they weren't the same. They spoke of things that shouldn't exist. The night we set out was pitch black, the kind of darkness that swallows you whole, where even the moon and stars seem afraid to show their light. We moved silently, our senses on high alert. Every sound, every shadow felt like it was watching us, waiting for the right moment to strike. As we made our way deeper into enemy territory, that feeling of dread only grew stronger. The forest around us was unnaturally quiet, devoid of the usual sounds of wildlife. It was as if the entire area was holding its breath, anticipating something terrible. And then we started to notice things. At first, it was just little things, strange markings on the trees, symbols carved into the bark that none of us recognized. Then we saw the bones, animal bones, at least we hoped they were, scattered around in patterns that sent shivers down our spines. But it wasn't until we found the first body that we realized just how wrong things had gone. It was one of our own, a soldier from another unit that had gone missing weeks earlier. His body was twisted in ways that defied explanation, his face frozen in a look of pure terror. It was clear he had seen something that had driven him to madness before he died. We decided to set up camp for the night, though none of us were keen on sleeping. As we sat around the fire, trying to convince ourselves that everything was fine, we heard it, a sound that I can still hear in my nightmares. It was a growl, low and guttural, like something out of a horror movie. But this was real, and it was close. We all jumped to our feet, weapons at the ready, scanning the darkness for any sign of movement, but there was nothing. Nothing but the oppressive silence that followed. And then we saw it, a shadow, tall and distorted, moving between the trees. At first we thought it was a trick of the light, but as it moved closer, we realized it was something far worse. The figure was humanoid, but twisted and deformed, with long, spindly limbs that seemed to stretch unnaturally. Its eyes, those eyes were the worst part. They glowed with an unnatural light, like two burning embers in the darkness, and they were fixed on us. We opened fire, unloading everything we had, but it was like shooting at a ghost. The bullets passed right through it as if it wasn't really there. And then, just as suddenly as it appeared, it was gone, leaving us standing there trembling, with the realization that we were dealing with something far beyond our understanding. That night, no one slept. We huddled together, keeping the fire burning, praying that whatever it was wouldn't return. But deep down, we all knew it was only a matter of time. The next morning, we pressed on, though the events of the previous night had left us shaken. As we moved deeper into enemy territory, things started to unravel. The forest seemed to close in around us, the trees twisting and warping as if they were alive. My comrades began to change too. Paranoia set in, and they started seeing things that weren't there, or maybe they were. One of the men, a tough-as-nails sergeant I had served with for years, suddenly snapped. He started mumbling to himself, talking about shadows watching us, whispering his name. We tried to calm him down, but he just kept getting worse, and then without warning he turned his rifle on us. We had no choice. We had to put him down. It was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do, but there was no other way. And as we buried him in that cursed forest, I couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. We finally reached our objective, a small, abandoned village hidden deep in the forest. But as soon as we set foot in that place, we knew something was terribly wrong. The village was eerily silent, as if time itself had stopped. The houses were old and decayed, yet there were signs of recent activity, footprints in the dust, fresh bloodstains on the walls. As we moved through the village, that feeling of being watched grew stronger. And then we found it, the source of our nightmares. In the center of the village was a large stone altar covered in ancient symbols that none of us could read, but we didn't need to. We could feel the evil radiating from it. And then it appeared again, the creature, the same one from the forest, but this time it wasn't alone. Shadows seemed to rise from the ground, taking on twisted, grotesque forms, surrounding us on all sides. We were trapped with no way out. We fought with everything we had, but it was like fighting a nightmare. The shadows moved faster than we could react, striking from every direction. One by one, my comrades fell, dragged into the darkness by those things. And then it was just me, alone, standing on that cursed altar, facing the creature that had haunted us from the beginning. Its eyes locked onto mine, and I felt something I had never felt before, pure, unadulterated terror. This wasn't just a battle for my life, it was a battle for my soul. I don't know how I survived that night. Somehow in the chaos, I managed to escape. I ran through the forest, not stopping until the first light of dawn broke through the trees. When I finally reached our rendezvous point, I collapsed, exhausted and delirious. They found me hours later, barely clinging to life. I was the only one who made it back. The others, their bodies were never recovered. Officially, the mission was deemed a failure, and the details were buried deep in classified reports. But I know the truth. I know what I saw, what we faced out there, and I know that whatever it was, it's still out there, lurking in the shadows, waiting for its next victims. Some say it was just a bad mission, that we were tired and saw things that weren't really there. But I know better. There are things in this world that defy explanation, things that can't be killed by bullets or bombs. And sometimes, those things find you when you least expect it. So the next time you're out in the woods or walking alone at night, remember my story. Remember that there are things out there in the dark, watching, waiting, and pray that you never have to face them. Thank you for listening to my story. If you enjoyed this tale of terror, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. There are many more stories to come. Stories that will make you question what you think you know about the world. Until next time, stay safe and keep your eyes on the shadows.